Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. We are ready for... That was perfect. It was Katowice. Katowice. Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. I'm your host, Jared Kale. I'm with QXC and Todd, our experts. This is the analyst desk, and we're about to go into our first game of ESC Daisy versus Funkay, who we learned is actually Mousemana's brother. He plays Terran. He already surprised Tefl in the previous round. Is he going to take out a Korean? I don't know, but it's a TVP that gets me really excited. Everyone's good to go. We're going to pass it over to our awesome casters. Please enjoy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Caster's Desk here, as we will now have Funkay versus Daisy. Yeah. This is going to be pretty cool, actually, because again, they've already mentioned a few things about our players. We have Funkay, Mana's brother, and we have Daisy, who came over to Germany quite a while ago, and is now going to be, and what has been playing in the European scene for quite a while.
Nice save there.
Yeah.
You got a bit lost, didn't you?
I was like, what on earth is going on?
We had like a little bit of an odd sound here in the arena, but yes, we have another Terran versus Protoss. And the thing about Mana and Funkay is, yes, they are brothers. It's not a big question who's the better player. But there's a question that I still couldn't answer throughout the entire time when they were both staying with me at the Gom House in Korea. Who's the bigger troll? If you think that Mana is a big troll, if you actually happen to live with both of them, there is no end to the trolling. It's it gets just worse every day.
This is I've
in a good way.
I've become akin with the Polish scene as of late, and you know, it's all I hear is trolling. Trolling.
I feel I can do this today. They taught me a song. Well, let's just introduce our players first, because Edibisi is already sitting on the edge of the seat. He's like, Kaldor, introduce them so I can start. To the top left of the map, we have Daisy, our Protoss player in red.
And to the bottom right, we have Funkay from Four Kings as our blue Terran.
There is a song, Funkay and Mana, we made a lot of fun when they were in Korea, both of them, and they taught me a bit of Polish. And, well, we have this special nickname for them. They are the Straka brothers.
The Straka brothers.
Exactly. Okay. And there is this song that they kind of invented, which is a little bit disgusting. We have a lot of Polish viewers, I think, so I'm going to drop that anyway. So guys, maybe you want to cover your ears. No, it's not that bad. But basically, the song is very simple, and it's about Mana competing in Korea. You won't understand a thing, I guess. No. It's just like, Straka, Straka, Gówna, Gówna. Dawaj, dawaj, Mana, Mana, napierdalaj.
Is this just all... That's the whole thing? It's like 7 words.
Well, believe me, people from Poland will probably have a laugh about it.
Okay, fair play.
I'm just going to give you a hint. Straka actually means diarrhea.
Oh.
So it's a very distinguished song that they came up with. Yeah, that's why they were the Straka brothers for their entire stay. But I can talk a lot about the two of them, but perhaps we should also talk a little bit about the game at hand.
Especially since Funkay is going for that Reaper opening. Yeah. Do like that or no? I don't know, but there's not that many places to actually jump into your opponent's base here with that.
Yeah, you know, I feel at this point he's just going for the scouting, trying to have a glimpse of what exactly is going on. And we talk about Daisy, the Korean player here, but to be fair, this matchup is by far his worst. He's down to 33% win ratio, 8 wins, 16 losses. And the last few Terran players that he faced, he lost to all of them. He lost to Nama at IEM Katowice, the European qualifier. One of the things to point out here. And now we have currently Funkay already taking out the first foe.
Ooh, and did he deny any scouting of those barracks is what I want to know. And yes, he did.
He did.
We have a 3 barracks play on the way here from Funkay. And I've got to say that I just have to echo the sentiments that you made about Daisy. Whenever I see him play against Terran, he's not really that tip-top. It's really his PVZ that I actually see his strength lying in whenever I cast him in the European scene. So, yeah, this is going to be a little out of his comfort zone.
I'm really interested to see how Funkay is doing. Funkay accompanied Mana to Korea, and he practiced a lot there. He was actually playing on one of my accounts and sitting right next to Mana. They talked a lot about the strategies, and every time Mana would have trouble with a Terran player, Funkay was always right next to him, talking with him about the matchup. And Funkay practiced a lot. He didn't get as high as he wanted to. He was playing in Masters on the Korean server throughout the entire stay, but he really wanted to improve his play and then coming back to Europe just to show off his performance. And so far in the tournament, he already did that against Tefl. And now he's about to take out another Stalker as well. Daisy is still thinks it's Christmas. We have a few donations. Funkay is happy, unwraps his present, takes down the Stalker, and that's one happy Terran player.
Yeah, and especially considering that Daisy for now, I mean, yes, he's getting his extra gateways, and yes, he's getting his robot. He needs to know what's going on. He needs that defensive position set up because he saw the tech lab on his opponent's base, but that's all he's seen. He could assume that Marauders were just coming out of that one barracks, but for the most part, you don't see someone just going Marauders as an opening. So something has to be going on a little bit, I was going to say funky, but Daisy here has to take
nice one. You know, that's always the moment in the life of a commentator. You want to go for the obvious pun, but you don't know how to do it, so you just slide it in, and then you just try to be like, okay, that was not intentional, guys. You did well. That was actually like a perfect execution.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And you always pat yourself on the back a little bit and be like, oh, well, that was good.
Go.
Well, anyways, we have suddenly all those units that you just mentioned walking up that ramp. The combat shield is not done just yet. Those Zealots are immediately trying to surround those Marauders, and the force fields of Daisy have been really nice, but there are a lot more units coming down for Funkay trying to claim victory in game number 1.
Wow, even some SCVs pulled off the line here. Those Zealots have all been so low, he's microwaving back against them. Those last units actually don't have much to deal with now that those Zealots are gone, and with that, Funkay can continue this, but those Zealots are now back to Daisy.
Daisy actually a little bit overcommitting when he was trying to chase those units down the ramp, and now he has to pull all those probes off. Yes, he forces Funkay back, but he's losing a lot of mining time here.
Yeah, he really is, especially with those reinforcing units. That's catching a lot of probes out on the open here for Daisy. And with that
economy.
And he's pinning himself into a corner. Where is he going?
Well, he's going to certain death, I can promise you that much. There is no way for him to save these units. He's trying to sneak another couple of units out to the top right to save the rest of his probes. But Funkay is rallying more units across the map. He can just intercept all of them. He already took down 5 probes and he is not stopping. And all those units, they can't mine.
Still a lot of lost mining time here. Funkay so far up in terms of that income right now. As you said, those 5 workers have been killed off. That one Marauder still picking away stuff. And there's more units still rallying across, and he's expanding behind this.
Yeah, but he was waiting with all those units in a very awkward spot. He could have used them in the fight a lot earlier, and now he's going for the Zealots again. He can't just go for it and now go up the ramp once more. The force fields are there, though, with the additional sentries that Daisy warped in, and now he has an immortal, and this puts a stop to the aggression of Funkay.
Yeah, and even during all of that, Funkay's 3-gate barracks opener still, I feel, needed to do a little more damage here to really even things up.
Yeah, you know, he had all these units that I talked about. He had to rally into the middle of the map to the 2nd Zalnaga watchtower, and he was occupied with microing his units to the top right, but he already had a force in the middle, and he could have at any point used those to just reinforce the troops to the top right, but he didn't. He waited a little bit too long, lost precious time, so he could have done a lot more damage with this than he actually did.
Yeah, and now, for now, Funkay just kind of chilling out, resting on his laurels a little bit here. He does have a few units out in the middle of the map, but they're not going to be able to get too much done at the front of Daisy's base. So Daisy is now he's quite happily going into Immortal production. He's getting his armor upgrade as well, which I'm loving, actually. Adding on armor this early on for a Protoss is really nice, and, I mean, he's got a probe lead right now.
Funkay was able to take down a lot of mining time of Daisy, and that's allowed him to get very close in the harvest account. We have currently 43 against 39. The double mule, of course, working well here for the Terran player, and he's able to close that supply gap that we saw after the initial pressure. So now, Daisy going straight into the robotics bay. Very interesting here. Also the double forge. So he could see a 2-base Colossus timing coming off from Daisy. Whereas Funkay is about to complete Stim and has another force on the map that can start to do damage with those Medivacs that are now a part of the equation. But of course Daisy knows this. Daisy knows about the timings, and this is why we see those Stalkers at the bottom left of Daisy's main base.
Yeah, that 2 Medivac timing, such a pivotal, and one of the... You need to know that as a Protoss player, otherwise you're not going to have too much success against a Terran at all. And right now, Funkay is going to apply some pressure to the right-hand extremity of his opponent's natural, and from that point on, he might try and circumvent going by other angles. Ooh, well, okay, there's actually not that much anti-air there for the Medivacs to deal with that.
Yeah, they are still in the main base, and now Daisy is pulling them back and trying to, to use them to help out at the defense. His Colossus is not ready just yet. The +1 armor upgrade, though, is nearly completed, and of course Funkay can't really move up that ramp. Is he really trying to with all those sentries? Baits out a Guardian Shield, well done. and Daisy is just focusing on his unit production at this point, but also not neglecting the workers.
Yeah, Daisy had really, really good coverage of, you know, observers there to spot exactly when Funkay was going to charge up that ramp, regardless of any vision he would have had of his units. And, you know, with that, he was always in a great spot. So Funkay falls back, takes his third. I like the choice, but he has to prepare for those Colossi.
He has to. You're so right about it. He goes into double upgrades, he goes into a third base, and I like the position that he's in. But he needs to figure out what's going on in Daisy's main base, because if Daisy hits him with the Colossus timing and Funkay doesn't have any anti-air at all, then things are gonna go bad for him very fast. And that's just highlighted by Adibisi. He does not know about all of this.
Yep, it's a scary situation to be in here. We'll see how Funkay is going to want to deal with that. But at the same time, I mean, the upgrades are getting... They're ramping up here for the Protoss as well. He's getting 2-1. He's getting his Thermal Lance as well as charge, which is super scary here. But Funkay's denying his opponent's third base for quite a significant amount of time here.
And now we have the Vikings. With the scouting factory, he saw the first Colossus. We have the Viking production started for Funkay. The Terran player from Poland now completing his upgrades as well, trying to go for the second wave, whereas Daisy has already started the +2 armor upgrade. He's going into external thermal lance. We also have the charge upgrade, +2 attack now started, whereas Funkay is starting exactly the same upgrade. But the important thing here is Funkay has the better economy. He has 3 bases, something that Daisy doesn't have, but Daisy has the ability to use the timing here.
Yep. Right now, both players are pretty much darn even in terms of that worker count, but as you rightly pointed out before, those mules are giving him a little bit of that edge, as well as this full saturation, well, or the more efficient saturation that he can have across 3 bases as opposed to the bases of Daisy. And right now, you know, with Daisy getting his Twilight Council, Templar Archives even, sorry, it seems all just a little... He needs to... I can't help but feel he needs to make something happen. Like, I mean, he's going to take his third base, sure, but it's always going to be behind.
Yeah. He's playing very passive. I mean, he's getting all the upgrades, but it doesn't really look like he's trying to hit a certain timing at this point.
Yeah.
He's moving out again, but with a third base, this is not necessarily designed to take Funkay down. If you invest minerals into this while you're moving out, then you always have the... You always, in your mind, have the opportunity to just fall back, and that's what he does. But as you said, he's behind already. A second stop coming up for Funkay, and this base he will have to cancel.
Yep, that bio just takes down way too quick if he can escape, and he does. He escapes with the entirety of his life, whilst a little bit of a drop was poking at the left here. So Funkay is playing this game fantastically against Daisy.
He definitely is. He has now, he has all the cards in his hand. He has 3 bases, he's getting the additional gas. We have him on 3 mules, potential mules. +2/+2 has been lined up. The upgrade's a little bit better for Daisy, but the economy is just so much better for Funkay. He's even ahead in the harvester count, completely disregarding the mules here. So this is a really, really bad spot for Daisy to be in. And the longer he waits, the better the position of Funkay.
Yeah, too true, too true. We might even see Funkay just saying, well, to hell with it, I'm just going to go for a 4th here soon. But, I mean, it's getting to the point, though, where Daisy's army is getting to that kind of scary spot where there's a lot of Archons mixed in, there's a lot of Colossi mixed in. It takes a good engagement to still kill that off. Yeah. And Daisy's keeping good eyes on his opponent's army as well.
You know, I can't really believe that Funkay didn't kill the Observer that is trailing his army. Yeah. Because he has to see it. One scan would eliminate it. And so Daisy always knows where exactly Funkay is positioned, what his economy, what his completely army consists of. And there it is again. The Observer is clearly visible, even to Funkay, who of course does only see the shift in parents.
Yeah, yeah. And for now, Daisy just cleans up a little bit of a drop potential here. But right now, Funkay still looking to poise himself, looking to find an engagement location. He's actually just going to push straight on in here. Nice force field by Daisy, though, as all of those Zealots cram up against that bio.
That's a horrible position for Funkay. He's actually attacking his opponent head-on, and even those Vikings are in a position where the Archons are taking them apart. One Colossus even alive. Funkay this fight was not what he wanted. Not at all. The position for him was not good. He wants to have those Vikings on a cliff maybe, where they can get a shot at those Colossi, but where the Archons are not a problem. And now suddenly Daisy is the one with the momentum. Funkay so far with a good game, but suddenly this fight happened and Daisy's micro was just way better.
Yeah, too true. Daisy there taking full advantage of the situation, once again pushing forward, doing so much damage to these units. Again, that +2 or +3 armor that he actually has on these Zealots, absorbing so much damage. +3 armor indeed. And this army alone is going to do catastrophic amounts to Funkay.
Yeah. Daisy with another round of warp-ins. He has the gas, he has the minerals, he's warping in unit after unit, and there it is. GG. a little bit unexpected in this fashion. Funkay so far with a great start into the game, but the positioning in the last fight and also the micro was just way better by Daisy, and suddenly the Protoss player has this huge lead and runs with it. I was a bit surprised by this end.
I was too. I thought that pushing was just a little premature. I didn't think he needed to happen.
Yeah, he had the time. He had enough time to just fall back, get those upgrades up, and just let the Protoss player come towards him, even taking a 4th base. But, well, there's a lot more to this game, of course, than what we just touched on. So we'll see what Todd, QXC, and Jared have to say about Game 1 between Funkay and Daisy. Poland versus Korea. So, guys, what happened in Game 1?
Thanks, Keller. That was an unbelievably exciting game. Actually, constant aggression throughout, back and forths. Quite a few overextensions, I think, on the part of the Terran player. But I'll let Todd, our resident Protoss pro, break down what exactly it was that secured Daisy the win.
I think QXC should start talking because the Terran was much more active in the start of the game. So,
sure.
Like, what was Funkay thinking with this attack? What was he trying to achieve? What was he expecting out of Daisy, in your opinion? Like, as a Protoss, I can understand exactly the way Daisy defended the way he did, but it's the Terran perspective which I'm not really getting with the early on aggression here.
Usually what you're trying to do with the early 3 racks is pretty much kill any of the tech units that they make at that point. So if you can pick off any sentries, that's really good. If you do enough damage, then sometimes you can bring a couple SCVs, you can build a bunker, and use that to apply more pressure to the Nexus, get them to pull probes. And I think basically the way that pressure ended up with Daisy pulling his probes is about as good as you can expect that to go. Just he overextended a little bit when he continued to push into that top right. He definitely, if he had rallied and regrouped with his units, I think he could have killed a little bit more.
Did you notice that he had went for combat shield? Can we go into the game? Take a look at this push. So he has combat shield about to finish with this big pressure here. He went for a quick tech lab early on to be able to make it. Behind this he added two more barracks after his Reaper, and one of those has a reactor. So he's able to get a lot of units out, 4 units out at once all the time here. He knows he's going to be against 3 gates, but the gates are going to be up later, and since he's going to have combat shield here, he's going to be able to fight quite decently and most likely reduce the walker count of his opponent. He really has to, because his expansion hasn't even started just yet. So actually this first engagement was not great here, but behind this he has so many reinforcements, and Daisy, he kind of overextended here. He needed to be pulling back earlier.
If Daisy had just held the top of his ramp, I don't think the follow-up would have done too much, and then he missed micros a little bit, loses some more units.
And he chased way too far out here.
Yep.
Daisy could have just camped, and instead of that he chased really far. He found himself stuck in this corner here, so he ended up holding, but I felt like he could have been a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. And then much later in the game, probably we saw some good moves from Funkay. Basically, he did one dropship in the main, and at the same time he took his army and swung around to the third. He was able to cancel Daisy's third, and that put him in a pretty good position economically. But I'm not sure. I think his decision to attack at that time was a reasonable one, because if you're looking at the upgrades, that was basically the only window of time he had to attack while upgrades were even. So if
but like before that, like now, he tried to put some more pressure on, but he saw that he could not really engage. Those Immortals, man.
Yep.
They were ready to make love to the small orders.
The Immortals were hot and good to go.
And Daisy... Okay, yeah, Daisy, he went for the second forge a bit later on here, and we saw both of the players actually going for heavy upgrades here. And in the mid game, Funkay, he did this really nice move, which I don't think was shown on the stream. He basically sent a medivac here to bring the army of the Protoss out of position. In the meantime, he attacked the third. I think this was a bit later on. Let's see. And now he's basically delaying the third of Daisy by a lot.
Yep. Daisy's unit composition at this point, though, is much better than Funkay's. His addition of Vikings is a little too late. Maybe even the addition of his second starport, just because he's so far behind in terms of what units he needs to deal with what Daisy has. But this is one of the things that Funkay could have used to really put himself in a dominant position in this game. He uses the dropship, pulls Daisy, distracts him for a moment, and cancels that third.
Yeah, again.
And that's really good for him, but he doesn't transition into it really the correct unit composition to make that 2-2 timing work. Or I guess it was more of a 2-1 timing. And at that point in the game was basically the only time he could have...
That Stalker was a bad boy. he got spanked.
I had to show it, sorry. But yeah, Funkay, he thought he had enough army to take on this Protoss army, and I think this was just the engagement. You're not supposed to be able to force field at this point in time, especially the Archons, they break the force field, so it's very hard for Protoss to pull off. But Funkay, he was just standing there now waiting to get force fielded, which happened, so after that he just ends up losing everything in this fight. And
I think the biggest problem with that battle is he let that observer, we can just stop, but he let the observer stay on top of his army, and so when he got kind of close and he like moves his army up and he goes back and he builds some supply depots or whatever, and then Daisy's like, oh hey, you're not paying attention. He walks up and force fields and cuts it in half and just annihilates his army.
That was a big problem. Kaldor mentioned it a few times, like Funkay, he really needs to start sniping those observers, because that's so much information from the Protoss. You see the army and then you can decide where you're going to fight, when you're going to fight, and how you're going to force fields.
Right.
If you want to buy yourself some time, you can just do a line of force fields, wait until the next warp. You can buy yourself some time until the upgrades, but Daisy was just about ready to go, so he went for it, and it was enough.
Yeah, he had pretty good unit composition with the Archon Immortal Colossus, and I think if Funkay had played a little safer, taken care of that observer on top of his army, and gone into some ghosts to help with that Archon, we would have seen a very different game there.
All right, well, the players are in Game 2. This map is Entombed Valley, I think. And it's underway, so we'll pass it over to the casters. Have fun.
Thank you, Jared, and thanks to Todd and QXC. Always a pleasure to have those two analyze TVP, so there was actually a lot of insights here. And now we are in game number 2, and of course, this is the match where Funkay has to take a win if he wants to advance right away. Starting to the top right, we have our Polish player. There's the Terran in blue. It is Funkay down 1 game.
And spawning down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have our Protoss in red, and he goes by the name of ESC Daisy.
You know, in the last game, I completely agree with what we just heard at the analysis desk. There was a lot more potential for Funkay to take a win in the last game. And just the last fight showed that Daisy was a step ahead of him in the unit positioning in the micro. And I completely agree with what QXC mentioned. It felt like Daisy was just waiting for a moment of inattentiveness by Funkay and then went in, dropped those force fields, and Funkay just couldn't escape, couldn't do anything about it. So right now, Terran player has to make a choice how he approaches the second match. And I actually don't know enough about Funkay when it comes down to tournament games of how his mindset is. It's one thing playing in the Goma House in Korea and just practicing, and it's quite another thing sitting in a tournament area, being down a game and already knowing that if you advance over in the best of 3 that you're qualified for the next day.
Yeah, you're right. It's a massive difference here. And Daisy, he's been relatively well versed in terms of actual tournament settings. So this, being 1 game up, something like the pressure of, oh, if I win this, I'm going to advance on, or something like that. It's not going to phase him here by any chance. So he's now just heading over to his opponent's base, scouting around, sees the barracks is on the way, and, well, sees no gas geysers, so he's going to assume it.
For him, this is, of course, awesome. He scouts cross first, and they were told already that this is a cross-only map. So he scouts cross and he gets into the base. He sends the probe out at exactly the timing that he needs to go for so that he can sneak into the base. If you have a 4-player map and you have to scout all the position, for a for a Protoss player, it's always so annoying if you don't scout the opponent at the first position that you try to scout out, because then you can't go into the main base anymore. There's already a Marine in the map. You will take down your probe, so it's really difficult for you to gather all those information that tell you what's happening, and to adjust your opening. It's just so difficult. You have to play it very safe, but now Daisy is in the know.
Or even there's like a supply depot second one started, not finished, just you can't get in. It's like, oh, well, what's going on behind there? It's really annoying for the Protoss player, but no, Funkay gives Daisy the opportunity to see what's going on. And from now on, Funkay is playing this very defensively, throwing down that bunker a little quicker than I was expecting here. But still, I like the choice. Bunkers, in the grand scheme of things, are only costing you opportunity cost, not an actual pure cost.
You know what the funny thing is? I actually just reconfirmed that. If you think about it, the matchup where Funkay should be really good is the matchup against Protoss.
Yep.
His brother is one of the best Protoss players that we have in Europe, and I just had a look at his statistics, and indeed, Funkay's win ratio against Protoss in general is his best by far. He is at 48% playing in European tournaments. So this is one of the matchups where he should be very comfortable and where he should have a lot of builds, because Mana and Funkay, they play all the time.
Yeah.
And they talk to each other about what they could do better. And you can bet that Mana is sitting right behind Funkay right now, watching the games, talking to him during the break and pointing out to him a few mistakes and just suggesting ideas of what he could do better.
Yeah, you can guarantee that. That's very, very important here to see. As for now, we have Daisy just chilling out. He's going for his expansion as well as getting his robo facility. Interestingly enough, getting that robo facility before any extra gateways. So he's feeling as if, well, you know, I don't need those extra units to kick things off. So I've seen what you're doing. I've seen the barracks. I've seen the expansion. So I'll just get the observer out very quickly and then find out what's going on.
Exactly. With the observer, he will have a good look at what Daisy is doing right now. And we have the Protoss player now. Sorry, at what Funkay is doing, of course. Mixing those two up for a second. And what Funkay is currently doing is getting another gas. We already have him with the stim on the way. And Daisy also, he has so many scouting informations right now. He has the Xel'Naga Watchtower in the middle, he has a forward stalker, he knows exactly what's happening. As soon as Funkay moves out, Daisy will know about it. And this limits Funkay's options. Funkay can't just sneak a few of those Marines around the Xel'Naga Watchtower into his opponent's natural, which is still a strategy that we see so often.
Yep. And that SCV that we just saw Funkay send out there might be
go.
a little bit telltale of what Funkay may have been wanting to do there. He sent one straight to the third. He might want to try and plant a third down, or even scout out pylons in that location as well.
Daisy is actually the one going for the third base and the robotics bay here. He has a decent amount of harvesters. And going into the third that early, he really is confident in this game. So at this point, I have to say that Funkay really needs to do something. He doesn't even know about the third. He doesn't have a command center third one in his main base. So let's see how much he can really do with this force that he has, with this army on the map, because he needs to put some pressure on Daisy.
Yeah, you're right. He has to be very diligent about scouting. He has to from then take maybe one or two little steps to either do some damage or just go completely economically himself, but that in itself is difficult because of the way in which Daisy is opening with the Immortals, getting out that those Colossi as well very soon. I mean, technically he could go into Warp Prism speed, but it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, just think about how this is going to work now. We still don't have a third base for Funkay. Daisy knows it. He has the observer in the main base of his opponent. And Daisy just completed the double forge. He is on triple nexus now. He has a lot of chrono boost energy. If Funkay waits too long, then Daisy will get a massive lead in this game. If he hits those chrono boosts, if he goes for the double upgrades. And now we finally have, yes, there we have the scan, and we finally have Funkay starting to chase down observers. Exactly what we are lacking in the last game. Another one comes in. Can he get the second one as well? Did he see it? That's the main question now.
It's hard to see on this map sometimes. He's just going to break down the rocks here. Daisy knows everything's going on in his opponent's main so far, actually at his opponent's natural as well. Just going to run away with that observer for now. He's seen all he needs to see at this point. And with that, you know, Funkay, he's going to try and grab himself a third base, I would assume, and try and just catch up to Daisy, because, again, Daisy's in a pretty good spot economically.
Yeah. And here comes the SV for the third command center. Gonna drop it in a second, whereas the bioforest of Funkay is moving across the map, but Daisy knows about every single movement of the Terran player. He's tailing his opponent's army again, but this time Funkay is gonna take it down. And I would bet money on the fact that Mana talked to Funkay in the game and told him, okay, listen, you need to snipe those observers.
Yeah, you're dead right with that. You're dead right. Funkay, from game 1 to game 2, just seems like a different player in terms of killing those off, especially on a map like this where the blur can be so annoying to spot because of just the texture on the map sometimes.
Funkay still has more army supply as Daisy, and he's trying to move out. He's already claimed the map, but can he really do something at this third base? The problem for him really is that Daisy is getting so far ahead in economy. We have him at 64 harvesters against 52. The mules are a massive contributor, though, to the economy of Funkay, and he's getting into a decent position with those units. Can he yeah, he can't really control the funnel, and he's actually losing quite a fair amount of units. And as I say it, there's a gap. No third force field, and Daisy makes me look a little silly.
Well, fortunate for Funkay there, unfortunate for Polish fans out there everywhere, as Funkay gets away with murder just a little bit on that move, and we still have Daisy now adding on a few more gateways as well as that Twilight Council, just trying to pump out as much tech as he can do. He's got a lot of Colossus out and on the way. He will have 3 very soon in total, and that poses quite a big threat to an opponent that currently has no Vikings whatsoever.
He's getting the +1 attack upgrade, the double Viking, the first two just leaving the starport, second starport being built. So yes, you're right, he's trying to get this anti-air going. We have 2 Colossi, a third one on the way, and the +2/+2 upgrades. But Funkay also going into double upgrades. He's a little bit slower than the Protoss player, so Daisy will have an edge here. But what is going to happen in the later stages of the game? This is a huge map, and I don't think that Funkay will run into the same problem that he had on game number 2. This is not going to be the same engagement pattern. But we have a lot of pylons now to the top left for Daisy. That's a lot of warp-in points for the Protoss.
I like how Daisy's playing out his PVT though, considering the statistics that show it is technically his worst matchup. He's actually making a really nice composition in the form of the 3 Colossus and then transitioning onto Templar Archives, and that's the trend that we saw in the previous game. We're seeing it here as well. He knew that that worked well, and he mixes in Immortals with it as well, because actually they provide a pretty darn good substantial amount of DPS on the ground.
And you know, one of the things that Daisy doesn't do anymore is get observers. He has all this time in the robo just completely contributed or committed to Immortals and to the Colossi. So no scouts on the map, which is why we just saw that Zealot walk across the map towards Funkay, because he wanted to know where's your army. And another point is that the Ghost Academy is already done for Funkay.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
Yeah, exactly. Those lack of observers could actually come back to bite him here if he gets Cloak out on those ghosts and then uses those eventually to say, oh, well, you have no observer? Great, I'm just going to drop a scan. There's no observer there, no worries. And then start focusing down Colossi, which is what ghosts can do, and it's really, really annoying for a Protoss to deal with.
We have 1 Marauder guarding the 3rd base, which is important because all the pylons that we have to the top left will be used by Daisy later to warp in a few Zealots and to just try to get into the mineral line at the 3rd base. But Funkay now has a +3 already on the production tab. Daisy started the last wave of upgrades too. So they're just both hovering in the game now and just waiting for their opponent to start engagement. And Daisy's the one who moves out into the middle of the map, but decides to fall back for now as he assumes that Funkay will try to attack now and he wants to have the high ground position and control those choke points. But both of them just dancing around each other.
And for now, one Marine trying to run away as best it can against 1 Zealot.
Run, Forrest, run!
He does not get away. Meanwhile, we have a little bit of a Zealot harassment up to the 3rd as well. Not working out too well for Daisy there. Only getting, well, not even 1 worker kill. As for now, he still warps in a few more, tries to go for the engagement. The Vikings are not in the most amazing position, but they've been zoning out the Colossus really well here, actually. And there's not any force fields out for Daisy.
Yeah, and another Colossus just dies. Funkay is moving back. He also has to defend his 3rd base, which he does. The supply is still a little bit in the lead for Daisy with another round of warp-ins, but another Colossus about to die. And so far, they've both lost the same amount of resources. How many Harvesters did Daisy kill, though? 14 in total.
Yeah, that's a big blow there to Funkay. As, I mean, Daisy, he takes that engagement, he trades blow for blow, as you rightly pointed out, but getting those Harvesters behind that just ekes him into a little bit more of a lead. And I won't be surprised if Daisy just says, well, you know, I'm just going to go for a 4th now.
The same is true for Funkay, who already completed the 4th command center and is now about to start his upgrade into the orbital. The upgrades... Oh, actually, I didn't even see that. Funkay did not start the +3 armor upgrade. He only completes +3 attack, so this could be a big problem later on. And Daisy with another observer. Did Funkay see it? Doesn't really look like it.
Nope, not at all. He's just going to walk straight past it here. That army is on its way to the middle of the map, and there are... How many ghosts do we have? We only have 1 ghost in this army thus far. There's 3 more on the way. Now Daisy's going to mix in a Dark Shrine, and this gets really, really annoying for the Terran to deal with.
Another Zealot run by, now walking towards the 3rd, spotted by the 4th base. But there are too many units. Those Zealots are not going to do a lot of damage. Storm, on the other hand, that's one of the things that could do a lot of damage to Funkay, as Daisy is about to complete it, even going into the shield upgrade now.
Yeah, I get a little bit scared for a Terran opponent when, like, the Protoss gets to the point where they have Storm out, they're getting their shield upgrades, now after finishing 3-3. What?
Sorry to cut you off there, but that Zealot is still doing damage because Funkay moved his army back again to defend his 4th base. He's a little bit overwhelmed by Daisy's multitasking, and look at this position. There are the storms caught by all those force fields. We have the main body of Funkay's army just disintegrating.
Yeah, very, very well done there by Daisy as he takes this engagement wholeheartedly, pushing those Marauders back whilst he kills off the Planetary Fortress. Daisy is in pristine position, 40 supply up. He's just even bringing those Zealots away from those Marauders now. He doesn't care. He wants to go up to the 3rd base. He wants to really, really ravage the income of Funkay.
Funkay is in a bad spot. The hopes for the Polish player are down to 0 at this point as Daisy controls the choke point. He controls the funnel position. We have him with a great position at the 3rd base of Funkay, and our Terran player is dropping down in supply, down to 70. There it is, the GG, and well played as Daisy claims victory in the 2nd game.
Wow. Was not expecting that from Daisy. Daisy taking such good control of that game eventually after, well, I mean, Funkay had the opportunity to get a good engagement, but you still need the architecture for the Vikings to be so crucial across.
Yeah, Daisy played it well here. He got into a really good position, and the force fields once again were excellent in the last fight. He gets the force fields off, drops the storm, and then half of the army is already gone. It looked a little bit like the multitasking of the Protoss player was just too much for Funkay today. Unfortunately, he loses the game, unfortunately for the Polish fans. But let's see what QXC and Todd have to say about game number 2 between Funkay and Daisy.
All right. Exciting PvT series. Pretty decisive victory for Daisy, 2-0. He's Korean, so maybe we saw it coming, we didn't. I don't know. But he is Protoss, fighting pretty good. Let's talk a bit about unit compositions here, because it seemed that every time they batted heads, there was it always swung in the Protoss' favor.
Yeah. You know what, Jared? You play Protoss.
Yeah.
So you go ahead and you do the analysis of this game a little bit. Tell us exactly what you think.
Well, in my Protoss bias opinion, there was a lack of micromanagement from the Terran player. I don't think there was enough kiting of certain units. He would engage a little too forcefully right in there. He'd offer himself up. He'd offer himself up to be force fielded off, and then just get completely annihilated. You got to be a little bit more careful. Draw those force fields out, man.
So Protoss
what? Is the weakest race, but he won, which means he must be a significantly better player.
So in that game, we saw some pretty. I think Daisy has a really strong understanding of what makes like kind of an. I'm not going to say optimal because optimal assumes that there's no better solution, but a very strong unit composition. It's like 2 to 4 Colossus, 2 to 3 Immortals, 4 to 6 Sentries, and then usually like 2 to 4 Archons, and then just a whole bunch of speed or charge lots. And we saw him aim for that composition in both games, and basically it just ran Funkay over. He just A-moved, he used some Guardian Shield, threw down some force fields, didn't really micro very much at all.
But like his build was very good this game. Like he took a very quick third and then he was very far ahead economically the entire game. So like he was ahead on upgrades, he was ahead on everything. Like if you do that and you gain this kind of advantage, you should be rewarded by it unless if you mess up. But he did not mess up. He did some nice moves where he sent the Zealots from over here into the third. We're gonna see it here in a second. Like you see, he made those couple Archons because he was really afraid that Funkay might attack and try to end the game quickly, which is usually what Terrans do on this map. Why didn't Funkay go for this kind of style where you get a bunch of Vikings, you park over here with your army, and then you go up the ramp here? And it's so hard for the Protoss to go through this area. And if you attack through there, then the Terran just gets a very good concave. And then the Vikings kill the Colossi, and it's ideal. But no, Funkay, he just made nothing happen this game, basically. He just went for the macro. So now we have a first wave of Zealots trying to kill some stuff, but they do not get much. And then now basically he wanted to engage and sometimes send the Zealots to clean a couple SCVs and the army here in this base. And it worked out quite well, because as the Terran here, you have to be looking at this fight. And even though Funkay he kited decently at some point here, but now you see he's just standing in like those Colossi shots.
So would you say that as the Protoss player, you don't have to look at that fight? Is that what you just said?
No, he doesn't look at those units. He looks at the fight. But I mean, in the fight, there was not much to micro here besides force fields. The Terran, he had to start a step, like kite all the Zealots a lot.
So
he had to keep kiting, and while the Vikings killed the Colossi.
Protoss needs more micro, is that what you're saying?
No, actually, it's kind of the opposite.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Terran needs more micro.
Yeah.
So you're saying Terran is way harder than Protoss in this matchup?
it's way harder, but harder, better, and stronger.
Okay. I thought it was really, this is a really strong thing for Protoss players to do, is have warp-ins occur at the same time as battles. It makes it very hard for the Terran player to really get the engagement that they need. And Daisy's positioning of the pylons really sets him up for a... This attack is set up very nicely by the zealots that he's able to warp in on those pylons. And again, I felt like...
He stormed the force field.
He did storm on top of the force field. I felt like Funkay was really lacking in the Ghost in both games. He didn't really have a good response to the Archons and Storm eventually in this game, but even earlier against the Archons. And that led to basically Daisy being able to just roll over his army. So next set, we're going into Tefl
versus Tarson. And Tarson is fighting, right?
No. Tefl versus Funkay.
Oh, Tefl versus Funkay.
So Funkay still has a chance to advance to the group stage. He's going to be playing Tefl, who he already played once. He defeated him 2-1.
Right.
And so
yes,
that'll be interesting.
I had the brackets mixed up in my head. Man.
Yeah, we didn't get to see those games earlier, so we're not... I don't know. Like, sometimes...
We're going to have another poll in the pool play. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The more the better. Tomorrow we're going to have the audience here, so...
Oh, it's going to be loud tomorrow.
Yes.
It's going to be very fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, then come back with our second last match of the day on our first day, the qualifying day of the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. Don't go anywhere.